This is In Touch with Terri, a power-packed podcast for the medical aesthetics industry.
I just discovered your podcast, and I feel like I've hit a gold mine.
This is someone who's got a lot of knowledge. She's been there, done that.
Terri Ross is a former Fortune 500 executive, international speaker, founder and co-CEO of Apex Platform, and Terri Ross Consulting.
Just listening to her energy and her passion and just how hardcore she is.
Her knowledge of the industry and just her connections in general are phenomenal.
In Touch with Terri will bring you solutions to increase operational and employee efficiency and practice profitability. Plus, features some of the top industry experts as guests.
The Apex team literally changed the game for us.
Terri, your courses and your podcast are just so helpful.
She made me feel like I could do this.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Now, here's Terri.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of In Touch with Terri. Before we dive in, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to my tribe, for my listeners, for all of you guys giving me shout outs and reaching out to me. I don't know what's going on, but it's been so much more lately around the content that we're putting out and your graciousness and how much you're loving it. And I just want you to know that I wouldn't be doing this without you. You are the sole reason and purpose that this podcast is for. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be here with you and just share my wealth of knowledge. And I hope that it resonates with you, that you basically go back and influx change in your practice and maybe in your life. So this topic today, I wanted to devote to the effectiveness of your team in managing leads, and almost as it relates to the phone. Now, I know there's blogs and tons of topics and presentations I've given them on phone skills, but at the time of this episode, I had just came back from the San Francisco AmSpa show. And I gave 2 talks and I gave a 90-minute workshop. In addition, the 2022 AmSpa release just came out of the industry stats. And this is med spa related, but I think this really does trickle over into the plastic surgery space because I'm also a very big part of American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery and all of the other societies. And the same topics, if you will, challenges and pain points continue to evolve. And the reason I'm bringing up, again, the effectiveness of your team in managing leads, because that is a direct correlation to a person answering the phone and or someone managing leads. And I can't say enough that it's one of the most critical components, the most important positions within your company, and sometimes the least paid attention to, oftentimes the least paid. And what we all know is that they're just not trained. And that is a direct correlation of you being a business owner, a doctor, a provider, or an entrepreneur. And so the question really does have to become, what are the expectations that you want for your team and that you expect for your business and the outcome? And trust me, I have to check myself. I have to ask myself the exact same thing. Like, what am I willing to inspect? What I expect, but what am I willing to put into my people and my organization in terms of the training? Because as I mentioned, conferences are phenomenal. I am humbled and so grateful that I get the opportunity to go there and speak and educate because of my experience and what I love to do. But let's just be honest with what it is. It's information. It's a lot of information given while you're sitting there taking copious notes, and then you have to go back and actually find the time to execute it. Now, I just interviewed a doctor who hired a manager, and she came from the gym industry. Now, I'm not going to knock anyone's skills and talent. They could be a great manager. But if you come from the gym, how are you possibly going to have a manager that doesn't know the industry, doesn't know the treatments, doesn't know the procedures, the feature benefits, the sales process, how to ask questions, how to overcome objections, how to handle a lead, how to credential you? How are they going to also earn the respect of the staff when their sole role is to like keep the glue together as a manager. And my previous podcast was about that. So I don't want to get into that so much, but I do want to devote this podcast into diving deep into things that I think you can't ignore. I mean, mediocrity is just not okay. And I know you guys all know that, but I want to provide some industry stats. Number one, I'm always going to back it up with facts. And the facts are that the same 3 or 4 things constantly come up, that the aesthetic industry as a whole lacks training. We just do, which again is where Apex was incubated, because we do consider it like the MBA school of aesthetics. There's courses, not just analytics, and there's a community, there's group coaching every week, 5 private calls. And we did that for a reason, because there's actual tactical, get down and dirty, how to do something based on roles and based on the entire practice. So training is the number one pain point that comes up. Leadership and culture is the next thing. You could be an amazing provider. And I get it. You need to be in the room seeing patients, as you should. But we also have a business to run, right? This is a company, not a nonprofit organization. We have to appease our patients. We have to get them coming in the door. How do we attract them? How do we retain them? How do we provide that 5-star customer service? And the only way to do that is when we put the foundation, we put the systems and the processes and the structure in place for your entire organization to be beating to the same drum, right? That's the culture of one group of people, right? Different people coming together as a team. So it's training, it's leadership and culture, and then it becomes the data, right? I've said this before, 90% of aesthetic practices do not measure their data. That's almost everybody, which is sad. We can't continue to be a profitable business. Now, look, is there that top 1% echelon that are killing it? Absolutely. But we also know, again, being busy doesn't mean being profitable. I think some other numbers came back. 60% could not tell you what their expenses were or where. I think 61% didn't know the breakdown of the revenue sources. So how the hell are we supposed to manage our business? So when it comes to the effectiveness of managing leads, that's going to come down to training, because 45% of people are never followed up with. 45%. The cost of a med spa lead is between 150 and 250. The cost of a surgical lead can be 250 and up depending on where you are. Now, why am I sharing these numbers? Because if you're spending money, you need to spend the money in the treatments that yield the highest return on investment, or you're wasting money. You're spending money to get the phone to ring, and you're spending money to get somebody to perhaps do a web lead on your website. So if 45% don't get followed up with, or the phones are ringing, let's talk about that. How often are they ringing? When are they picking up the phone? In 2 to 3 rings? Are they going into voicemail? Does someone call back the next day? Are they transferring them to somebody else who can't get there? Do you have phone call tracking in place? I mean, there's just so many things that could happen at that stage of the business when we talk about the 7 steps, that if it's broken there, you're losing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I want to ask you a question. I seriously want you to shut your eyes, and I want you to ask yourself, what is one of the best customer experiences that you've ever had? Where was it? Why was it a good experience? And how did it make you feel? Like, did it cause a visceral response for you? And then what was one of the worst experiences that you've had? Again, why? Was it the person? Was it the place? And how did that make you feel? And then really pick it apart. Why could something be so good? And what were the traits of that person, the skill set of that person, the tone of that person? Like what was it? Because we know places, right, that put their people through high levels of training in customer service. I mean, they just do. And then there's places that are like, winging it with zero consistency. So I want you guys to think about, again, these things. What was it that it made you feel? Was it the tone of their voice, their kindness, their knowledge, their expertise in your business and in your services and in your treatments, the sense of urgency that they had, their ability to solve a problem, the calmness on the phone, their ability to ask you questions, to build rapport with you in the beginning, to handle price objections, not just answer the question. to credential your practice, the providers? And if I called your practice, would it be the same? Because at the end of the day, we know we're in a very competitive environment. It is a commodity. Let's call it that. It is a commodity. What's not a commodity is you, your place, how I feel when I walk in, how I feel when I call the practice, the structure of that call, the follow-up of that call, the ability for you to articulate why you're different, why should I come there? At the end of the day, the whole number one goal is to convert the caller to a booking and then eventually to a paid appointment and convert the web lead as well. Because if you're spending all this money, and I want you to calculate your return on investment. I want you to calculate how much money you're spending and then spending it on what and where. And then what is that conversion? And then are you coaching your team to improvement? And then check yourself. Say, God, have I ever put them through sales training? Have I ever put them through customer service training? Was it by a real person with sales skills? It's one thing for people to say, just give me a script. Anybody can read. This isn't about reading a script. I mean, your people have to believe in the vision and the mission and the culture and the pillars of your practice. Because I always say when we teach it in our sales training course, part of one of the beginning exercises is to do your unique value proposition exercise. And if I were to ask you to line your team up, line them up and say, why would people come here? Would they all say the same thing? When we think about what makes the Ritz-Carlton experience, it's not necessarily the nice smelling lobby or the beautiful rooms or the gorgeous decor and flowers. I mean, 1,000,000% does that play a part? Absolutely. But no matter what Ritz-Carlton you go to, no matter what state, what country, you get the same experience by everyone there. There's consistency with that. When you walk in the door, when you're greeted, you get this amazing 5-star experience. No exceptions. So it's excellence versus mediocrity. And the key here is really consistency. And the key is training and with consistency, checking, inspecting, coaching. What did they learn? Why? How would they have handled it differently? Are your conversion metrics at the 70%? If they're below that, why? What kind of leads are coming in? What time do they come in? What vertical do they come in? How quick do you respond? I mean, there are so many fundamental things about running and measuring a successful practice. If we just could take a second and say, what does my team consist of? What skill sets do they have? What traits do they have? Where can I support them? And or where can I go invest? Not an expense, right? You get a return on an investment. An expense is just wasting money. What am I willing to invest in to work with experts to get my team to a higher level? Because you expect more. Again, your education, your training, everything that you have to pay for, the overhead, the warranties, the leases, the bonuses, the insurance, I can go on and on. This isn't a nonprofit organization, which means we don't have a choice but to want a staff and to want a team and an organization that not only first and foremost gives a good patient outcome. That goes without saying, right? Number one, we want patients to have a good outcome. But we want to know that our efforts on the business economic side of things are being converted so that when a patient does walk in your door, you understand how much they're paying. What is that average spend per patient? What is the frequency? How often do I return? Am I returning for the same thing? Do I return for something different? Am I getting exposed to other treatments to do a treatment plan so that I increase the lifetime value and I increase my revenue per hour? These things aren't optional, guys. This is not optional. This is the fundamentals of running a business. And truly, true success, it's nothing more than making a few small changes, but with discipline every day. That's it. I'm going to say it again. The success of your practice is nothing more than really making a few small changes with discipline every single day. So we've kind of went through this. I want to give you some things to think about. And I've already kind of said it. Look at your team. What training have they had? Is it consistent? Who's responsible to coach them, to lead them, to manage them? How are you coaching to change? How do you onboard new hires? Do you listen to phone calls? How often? Are they held accountable if they're not meeting expectations? How are you tracking leads and conversions? What kind of conversations are you having about making the proper changes necessary to make improvements? Can they recite your unique value proposition? What is it? Why you? Again, if you asked your team to line up and tell you, would they say the same thing? Challenge your team. How do you handle, Dr. Smith down the street is less expensive? How do they handle that? Do they just quickly run and offer a discount? Do they just say, I'm not sure, maybe we can offer you something and hang up the phone? Like, how equipped are they to handle a price objection? When they say, how much do you charge? Does your person just give them the price over the phone, click goodbye? And do you check that? Do you track it? Do you listen to it? Do they understand features and benefits of your surgeries, services, products? I could go on and on about what the requirements are and what the training is because we have a bigger systemic problem. Again, I am genuinely from my soul. I hope you can see the inflection. I am so dedicated and passionate and driven to change the mindset of the way aesthetic practices are run because we have to. I think now there's going to be over 10,000 medical spas coming up. There's people coming out of fellowship that are going to be opening up practices. There's many, family practice and OB-GYNs and dentists and whoever wanting to get into the medical spa space. And great, there's room for everyone. But is there? Again, what kind of business are you going to be? And I mentioned at the time of this recording, right, I was coming back to the AM Spa in San Francisco. Are you a volume-based business? Are you a concierge type business? And you can be whatever you want to be. Okay, but you have to realize, who are you attracting? And so, as I mentioned, right, we have an opportunity. We have a choice to do right. We have a choice to make our practice a difference. And we have a chance to do better. We have a choice and a chance. So I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do, right, with your choices? Are you going to stay where you are today? Are you willing to say, I'm not, I have got to make the right changes? So a couple things I want you to think about. It's critical to credential yourself. It's critical to state your name on the phone. Hi, this is Terri, right? I'm the front desk concierge with ABC Aesthetics. Thank you so much for calling. May I get your name and number in case we get disconnected? Thank you so much, Susie, for calling. It looks like you're interested in skin tightening. I didn't say, what are you interested in? What did you call for? I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. Again, you mentioned skin tightening. They might mention the modality. Guys, it's never about the thing. I might say cool sculpting. You might not have it. Maybe you have something else, and then someone's going to drop the call. Happens every time. Like, I've worked with thousands of practices at this stage. So your team really has to know, when we teach the 12 service categories, that's for a reason, right? It's never about the modality because there's hundreds of different modalities on the market today, but it is about knowing the thing, articulating the value proposition, what you can expect. Use this phrase. What you can expect when you come to ABC Aesthetics is ABC 1, 2, 3. Like, what is that? And in order to solidify your appointment, you're going to be meeting with our board certified doctor or nurse practitioner or whoever it may be. And why we're different is because we take a comprehensive approach. I know you mentioned you're interested in looking at some skin tightening treatments, but we're going to have you fill out a cosmetic interest questionnaire because we care. Our desire, our goal is for you to have the best outcome. And I would be doing you a disservice if I did not tell you that. Because anybody can go anywhere and get the laser down the street and a little shot of Botox over here, and I get my filler here, and I get my facial here. I don't want that. 50% of patients said they did not know their current place offered other services because we don't educate. I say it on stage. You're not selling anything. Selling isn't what you do to someone. Selling is what you do for someone. You're helping them. They have a problem. You have a solution. You are obligated to tell me. But again, that ability on the phone to talk about why your value, why your consultation fee is worth it. Your ability to match a client's persona. If I'm direct, I want a direct response. If I'm chit-chatty, I need you to be chit-chatty. Okay, there's a reason that we talk about personality types for a reason. A standardization in the flow. Now, we can have a standardization script, and I've written them, and they're all in the Apex platform, and they're in our course. But whether you think about Saks or Mercedes or Christian Louboutin or Neiman Marcus or Ritz-Carlton or whatever it is that you love, Tesla, I don't care. These companies, Starbucks, they have a process. When you inquire, they have somebody calling you right away. I inquired about something. Within like 5 minutes, I had a call back. They have a process down and it's a phone call. We have to get away from so much automation. This is a human connection business. So that's what I want to leave you with. I wanted this to resonate about the things that I want you to consider and the things that are important. Most people are picking up the phone, calling your practice, or sending in a web lead. Those conversion metrics should be 70%. Your phone calls should be answered within 2 to 3 rings. They should never be going into a voicemail. They should never be being transferred to someone else. And I see this happen often. I work with a company called Line. I love them. They do phenomenal call tracking. Their data is insane, but I love it because I can almost help increase practices by looking at their data and looking at the training in Apex. You should ask the caller. You get their name and information. So if you get disconnected, and you do that in the beginning, why is that important? Well, you may get off the call and that was a lead. Getting their information to put it in your practice management software is critical. And a lot of times people just get off the phone and they never get it. So when you get it now in the beginning, now at the end, if I want to send you some information, I'm not going to be like, well, God, I didn't really vibe with her. Why would I give my information? I want you to ask the caller, is it okay if I put you on hold? And do that, and then check in for 2 to 3 minutes, or just frankly say, do you mind if I call you back, or what would you prefer I do? Use their name. I never hear this. Somebody's just like, some people use names, some people don't. State your name, state who you are, ask their name, and then use it throughout the call. Again, you want to get the appropriate information, put it in the software system, engage the caller. We talk about the layer model for a reason. Thank you so much for calling. How were you referred? I appreciate that. What are you looking for? This is my favorite phrase. I love it. I use it. It will dismiss and squash any objection, but you got to really get good and practice this. When they talk about the price, well, what do you charge for a breast aug? Or what do you charge for Botox? Doesn't matter. Thank you. That is such a great question. I want you to acknowledge, I appreciate that question. Absolutely. These services, it's an investment. I didn't say a cost. What are you looking for when you choose an aesthetic practice? Either be quiet and let them answer, or you could fill it in and say, what do you look for when you choose an aesthetic practice? Is it price? Is it safety? Is it results? You will trip a patient up, a caller up in 2 seconds, because if I say price, you'll weed me out too. If I say price, I'm telling you. I'm literally telling you. You have to listen intuitively. Okay, if price is the most important thing for you, I absolutely understand that this is an investment, but we're probably not a good fit. Oh, no, safety and results. I have taught this for years, and there are testimonials of people that have done this, studied the course, and have converted $32,000 surgeries in one call, just by having the skills and the knowledge and the wherewithal to just take a beat, pause for a minute, get comfortable, get confident in your ability to pick apart. Because if somebody really wants safety and results, then absolutely you've called the right place. I don't want price shoppers coming in wasting your time. There's no time to waste. Again, the credentialing. What is your credentialing statement? What's your value proposition? What's your why factor? Can I credential the practice, the provider, the product, the procedure? And then again, asking questions. What other additional questions can I answer for you? Have I provided you all the information that you need? Oh, all right. That was a lot. I don't know. I'm pretty revved up. How about you guys? Well, I hope that this podcast really resonated. The stats I provided, the why around why you should care, the history about this industry, and the lack of education and training that we know we need and that we have to pay attention to, knowing that our practices and our team can be confident, more competent, more efficient, and we can be more profitable but we have to take a good hard look at ourselves and say, how am I operating today? What kind of business do I want? What kind of culture am I creating? What kind of mindset? What kind of pillars do I stand for? And what does my staff believe in? Because that's how we come together when there is no exceptions. So I'm going to say it one last time. True success is just a few small changes every single day with practice and consistency. That's how we get great. I hope that you loved this episode. Candidly, as much as I really, really enjoyed sharing with you a lot from my heart, a lot of emotion behind this, because I know that there's so much room for opportunity and I want to give back as much as I give and get from you guys and hear from you guys. So with that being said, if this resonated with you, if you are sitting here, if you're like, holy crap, that's me, my team sucks, or they need more help, or they need more training, or I'm not doing great in any of these areas, I invite you to call or go to our apexplatform.com website. You can fill out a free discovery questionnaire. Our team will call you back and discuss that with you. Maybe Apex Platform is a good fit for you. Maybe our training program is a good fit for you. And please share this with your friends or anybody that you think needs to hear this, because I want to hear from you. So leave me a message, a ping, a chime, a ching on my Facebook page, Aesthetic Insights Group, whatever it is. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you on the next episode of In Touch with Terri. Ciao.
Thanks for listening to In Touch with Terri. We invite you to schedule a discovery call with our Apex team. The link to apexplatform.com can be found in the show notes. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of In Touch with Terri.